Hi, everybody. I hope you've had a great week. We had Earth Day this week, and this Sunday in our church service, we are focusing on that. I wonder if any of you sent photos of some of your favorite trees. I sent some photos of some of mine, or at least of my favorite tree bark. So you might see some photos of that in the video that was part of the service today. I hope you've had a good week otherwise too. We had a weird week with snow and frost and, big swings in the temperatures, but I think we'll be back to warm weather soon. We have a story again today from the book of Acts. Excuse me. Just like last week, our story was from Acts. And it's that book that I said is sometimes called the Acts of the Apostles, meaning what the people who followed Jesus did after he died and was raised again. So once he wasn't walking the earth with them anymore, what were they supposed to do? And that book of Acts tells the stories of what they did to get the early church started. This story really connects well with our word for this month of April of share. There's a lot of sharing going on in this particular story, and you'll see what I mean in just a minute. It highlights the ways that those early followers, the early Christians, work together for the good of everyone in their community. It says in this story that they held everything in common, which really means just that they didn't have personal possessions, I think. I think it means that they really pooled their money together and pooled their resources together and made sure everybody had enough of what they needed. They created a community where nobody was needy. They even sold some of their properties and their houses, and then they would put the money from that together. And the apostles, Jesus's closest followers, they managed all of that wealth and made sure that it was shared equally so that everybody had enough. Now, it says that this wasn't mandatory, meaning it wasn't required that everyone had to do this, but the people who were able to did share. And that was a way of showing love and support to each other and this sense of equality that we all really are equal in God's eyes. Sharing what you have is definitely a tradition of Christian faith, and it's something that people do still today in many ways, inside and outside of the church. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those ways. And it's not always just giving things, giving money or items or objects. We talked about that a little bit last week, like what can you do? What can you give if you don't have money? So that idea comes up in today's story too. So I'm going to read it for you now. This is from Acts chapter 4, verses 32 through 37. The community of believers was one in heart and mind. None of them would say, "This is mine," about any of their possessions, but they held everything in common. The apostles continued to bear powerful witness to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and an abundance of grace was at work among them all. There were no needy persons among them. Those who owned properties or houses would sell them, bring the proceeds from the sales, and place them in the care and under the authority of the apostles. Then it was distributed to anyone who was in need. Joseph, whom the apostles nicknamed Barnabas, that means one who encourages, was a Levite from Cyprus. He owned a field, sold it, brought the money, and placed it in the care and under the authority of the apostles. The story continues, but we're going to stop there for today and just think about this story a little bit. So if we remember this theme we've been repeating, that sharing means to offer God's blessings to others, it's pretty obvious some ways that those early believers did that by selling what they owned and putting their money together to make sure everyone had what they needed. That's how they were able to be sure people were receiving God's blessings. Let's take a look at our video for this week.
Hello, friends. I'm Samuel. Let's wonder about this Bible story together. Imagine a world where everyone has everything they need, a place where every single person is ready to share what they have, and no one has to struggle for anything. Wow, what a beautiful and peaceful world. Honestly, it's really hard for me to imagine this. There are so many people who don't have everything they need. Our story today describes a world of hope where everyone is sharing so that everyone has what they need. This is a beautiful vision of what a community of God can look like. Now, this might seem impossible. How can we do this? This Bible story gives us an example of something to work towards. And though the world won't be perfect, we can definitely see the world get better. My favorite part is that we can all do something to see it get better. We can all share different things. When we pay attention to the needs around us, we notice ways that we can help. Even if we can't help, maybe we can find someone who can. Even sharing your idea for how to help makes a big difference. Last year, one of my friends noticed that during the summer, some of her friends didn't have lunch. One day, she asked her friends why, and they said they always got lunch from school, and there's no school during the summer. At first, my friend would split her lunch. Then she realized that there was a lot of kids who needed lunch. She talked to her mom to see if they could figure out a way to get lunch for everyone. Her mom talked to the school and they came up with a plan. During summer, they would still serve lunch at the school. Even though my friend couldn't do everything on her own, she shared her idea and helped fix a problem. Imagine how your community can be the beautiful vision in the Bible story, where everyone has what they need. Paying attention to what's around you is a great place to start. And remember, sharing builds relationship. Think about your community, the people around you, and the ways that you can share. Now it's time for you to wonder.
Sounds like a pretty perfect community to be a part of, this early community of Christians, doesn't it? What do you think it was like to live in this community that's in our story today? I'm curious what it looked like if people had, houses all near each other, if it was like a neighborhood where everybody shared what they owned, or I don't even know. I'm not sure. I wonder what it looked like. Wonder what it was like to be part of that community. Do you think it would be easy or hard to share in the way that these believers did? I think it would be easy to put everything that you own in common and trust somebody else to manage it and to be sure that it's shared evenly. I think it would be hard. I think it would be hard because I would want to be sure that people were making good decisions with what I was giving. And I think I might be a little bit selfish sometimes and wish things belonged just to me. I think it would be hard. But I suppose there would be a lot of relief in knowing that you didn't have to worry about whether you had enough. If somebody trustworthy was really managing all of those shared possessions, then you would be assured that you would have what you need. There would be no need to worry. Do you know some of the ways that our church already shares, kind of like this early community did? We have so many things that we do in our congregation, and I'm wondering if you know some of those things. One of them is called the community meal that our church, it takes a turn with other churches in Oxford. Every Wednesday of the month, there's some church in Oxford that offers a meal to anyone in need. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to bring something to be able to come through the door. You don't need a ticket. You just come if you need this meal. Our church provides it anytime there's a fifth Wednesday. Usually there are just 4 Wednesdays in a month, but anytime there's a fifth Wednesday, because of the way the calendar falls, our church takes care of that. So people from our congregation just volunteer to cook and bring food and to help serve it. And they share what they have so that people don't have to be in need. A lot of people bring food to the food pantry. So food is an easy thing to share because we don't want anyone ever to be hungry. It's hard for people to get other things done in their day or in their lives if they're just worried about what they're going to eat. So we try to always make sure that no one has to worry about that in Oxford. Sometimes our church office will get phone calls about someone in town who's really in need of a specific thing or a specific kind of help, whether it's some kind of housing or maybe furniture or just anything. And our deacons, as well as just generous members of our congregation, make sure that people who have deep needs their needs are met. We share our time. Every Sunday as part of our church service, we have the offering, which is a way that people can share their money, kind of like it talked about in our story, putting your resources all together. So everybody puts their money in that plate as it's passed, and that money is then used to pay for all of the things that our church does. And one of those things is taking care of the needs of other people. But it's not always just giving things or money. Like I said, we also give our time. A lot of adults in the church volunteer their time to teach. I'm volunteering my time right now to teach Sunday school. So this is one way that I am giving something that I have to my church family, to the community. We share the gifts that we're given by God. Like if we have a talent to make music, some of you have shared that before, or maybe you've taken time to be part of our Christmas pageant, to share your acting skills. There are things we can do that are not just about money and stuff, but sharing our time and our talents for adults and children. One other way that we can really share is to give encouragement. You might have noticed there was that mention of the one disciple who was sort of nicknamed Barnabas, and that means the one who encourages. That was sort of at the end of the story. And encouragement is one of the most important things we can do for each other, to give encouragement. I want to challenge you to think about somebody within your own family that you can encourage. Sometimes it seems harder to give compliments or encouragement to the people that are with us all the time. It might seem easier to do that maybe at school, where you might give a compliment to your teacher, or you might in gym class be encouraging your friends to run faster. But what about your mom? What kind of encouragement does your mom need at the end of the day? Does she seem tired? What would give her a little burst of energy if you said something encouraging? What about your dad? What would encourage him, make him really feel good and know that you appreciate what he does? Or your siblings? What could you do to encourage them? They'd probably be kind of shocked, right? I think a lot of siblings don't think to encourage each other. Sometimes in families, you spend a lot of time arguing about things, but what if you really gave some thought to a way that you could encourage someone in your family who would be really surprised and not expect that? That'd be a great way to share God's blessings, to make someone else feel good, especially when they're not expecting it. So I'm going to leave you with that challenge for this week. Think of a way you can encourage and share what you have in the way of talent or time or money, if you have it, with others who are in need, so that no one has to be needy. That's a great goal of our Christian faith. Let's say a prayer together. Gracious God, thank you for this time together. Thank you for these many ways and stories that have helped us think about this idea of sharing your blessings with others. May we recognize in our days the ways that we can do that and live up to this challenge. Thank you for your son, Jesus, for his example to us, and for this body of church that we are together. Amen. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you again soon, sometime. Bye.